back to Big Balls Fantasy Football. We are here to talk about kicker sleepers, which actually is kind of an oxymoron because here's the deal. Who really worries, unless it's one of like the top 3 kickers, about their kicker? And even if they are one of the top 3 kickers points-wise, it fluctuates depending on, if they're a dome kicker or a few other strategies we're going to talk about in a second. But it really is like drawing names out of a hat, which is exactly how we're going to make our picks. Except after we're going to talk about Matt Prater, who, of course, we know him as the mile-high kicker. Mm-hmm. Tell me what else you know about Matt Prater.
He's set some records up there, so he's one of the top fantasy kickers usually. Mm-hmm. There's always those kickers that are consistent all year, and I think that's what you want to try to get in fantasy. Mm-hmm. And then there's those kickers that for some reason have a 20-point week, and the kicker beats you, and you're just like, how the hell did that happen? But it's rare. But he is one of those more consistent kickers that you can get.
Yeah. He's broken a lot of records. Unfortunately, he got caught for a DUI and was under the NFL's substance abuse program.
Get the team's driver to pick you up. Hello.
Well, that's problem number 1, and that's always our beef. Yeah, you have a number in your wallet. Don't be a fucking hero in your Lamborghini, get the limo to come, exactly. But it turns out he was tested or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Somehow it got found out that he had, 3-4 beers sitting around the house, and that's breaking policy. And the league actually wanted to suspend him for the entire season, just for having 3-4 beers and breaking the rules. So his lawyer got it talked down to 4 games, and they were going to go with, everybody thought the rookie kicker. He was this kid out of Indiana, and he was trying his ass off in camp, and he's thinking, this is my chance. Nope. As of today, they cut him. And the Broncos have swung a deal with the New York Giants to acquire the undrafted Brandon McManus. The kicker was Mitch Ewald, that will never be known again on the face of the earth. Actually, he might end up on another team. You never know. But they were expected to waive him on the Giants, so they swooped in to grab him before he got out on the open market.
So he must have been balling out from what you were saying. Mm-hmm. In preseason, he's been balling out a little bit because didn't they give up something to get him?
Yeah, a 7th round pick.
Yeah, so
he knocked down.
Really wanted him.
He knocked down kicks of 46 and 47 yards in the preseason, and he also got a 75-yarder in practice. He's gotten 10 touchbacks on 11 kickoffs. So you can't get any better than that. So
yeah, and I think their thought is they only need him for 4 games, really. Mm-hmm. Unless he does so good that he totally steals the job.
Yeah,
which would be interesting.
Mm-hmm. So why don't you tell us what our first sleeper kicker is going to be?
Our first sleeper kicker. These are the top 10 guys?
These are the top 10 kickers after Prater.
So this is basically what you can do in fantasy. Mm-hmm. Although, there's always people that take a kicker way too early, and it cracks me up in the draft, and I'm like, what? A kicker now?
Matt Prater went in the 7th round in the work league.
It's crazy to me. I always take my kicker last. But our first one is Mason Crosby of Green Bay.
Uh-huh.
So.
And why would you think he would be a good sleeper pick?
He's a good sleeper pick because Green Bay's offense is going to score a lot, and if they're not getting touchdowns, they're at least going to be getting in field goal range. So now he was a little rough a couple seasons ago, if I remember.
He was. He missed.
Went on a bad run.
Yeah. There was talk of him getting canned.
Yeah. So, but he's climbed back up into top 10 fantasy numbers.
But there was one other strategy you were talking about. There was one other thing. Indoor kicking. You do. It doesn't hurt to pick a dome pussy team kicker.
Oh yeah, because you don't have to worry about the weather elements. For all of the home games at least. Right. So you have that benefit. You're not worrying about wind or weather, any of that. So
yeah. Matt Prater was hot shit because he was up there in the thin air and could boom them. So That's why he broke all those records. All right. Stephen Hauschka of Seattle. Good pick.
He's a good one.
Yeah.
He got a field goal that I saw watching the game against us. So.
Good, reliable kicker. He's not going to do you wrong. They got a good hometown crowd. They're gonna put up a ton of points, Seattle, this season.
I think so.
They're gonna put up a ton of points because their defense is going to keep the offense on the field.
But another thing is they play in a tough defensive division. Mm-hmm. So again, in those division games now, they might be getting in field goal range more so than getting touchdowns.
Yeah, Seattle.
That's what you want a kicker. You want them to kick a ton of field goals.
Seattle's not reliable on the road. So. They struggled last year on the road, even during their Super Bowl run. They'd play games and, the kicker would bail them out. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
We have another one. Greg Zuerlein, St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can already say why he's probably going to be a good one to get.
Yes.
Is because of the fact that Sam Bradford is out for the season. He tore his ACL on the same knee that he hurt last year. I'm guessing that his career is probably pretty much in the toilet by now.
Yeah.
But
it's
another
really
kicker strategy, since we're talking about this, is go for a kicker that's on a team that doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, that has a hard time getting down the field, but they can basically just get in field goal range and pray to put up some points.
Yep.
And Greg Zuerlein with a backup quarterback there in St. Louis all year, that might be what happens with them, that they are getting in field goal position a lot. So he'll have a lot of attempts.
I'm actually really excited. In one of my leagues, I have Zach Stacy, so...
Just run the ball the entire
Sam.
time.
I was like, sorry, Sam. I'm Zach Stacy. Yay, I'm Zach Stacy.
I did tell my friend that has Tavon Austin. I was like, you might want to try to trade him. right when that news of Bradford came out, I was like, you want to try to trade him.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. I'll just do one more. And strangely enough, we've gotten two dome pussies in a row. We have Matt Bryant of Atlanta, which... It's a sure thing. He's going to kick a lot. It's a no-brainer. But just like what we said, you can get him in the last round. Don't go picking him.
Don't pick up your kicker in the 8th round or the 5th. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see just the most ridiculous thing ever, and I just can't handle it.
Sorry.
Get your kicker in the last round.
Sorry, Prost. I drafted with Trash Bowl, our league that we've been doing for a decade and a half now. And... Prost takes, Crosby or whoever the hell, and like the 6th, as he said on our show, he is old school drafting. He fills out his lineup then he goes
first.
Back for that, and that's
for the bench.
And that's
I want to get my entire bench before I get a kicker,
exactly,
because there's still good players out there for my bench. So why am I worried about a kicker? But just one side note on kickers is Kansas City Chiefs kicker Ryan Suckup. Pay attention to this because he is still competing for his job against Kairos Santos. So they are not going to name the kicker until after this week's preseason game, which is the last preseason game. So even though we're telling you can basically pick up anyone you want, don't pick him up unless he actually has the starting job. Yeah.
Let's get on to talking about somebody in position you actually do have to worry about, your special teams defense. And people don't always factor into the defense. They just figure on they keep teams to a lower level. Your special teams is factored into that too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it is a position that you can score a lot of points with. So, again, strategy-wise while drafting, sometimes you do want to take a defense a little earlier. You don't want to wait super late. So, just depends on your strategy.
Yeah, so let's move into it. Who is your sleeper defense?
My sleeper defense, and this is a defense I don't feel like has been talked about pretty much at all from the things I've been hearing on different networks and such, is Tampa Bay's defense. Now, last year they were 17th in total D, so they were kind of in that middle of the ground area. They had 35 sacks, 21 interceptions, and 3 defensive touchdowns. But why I like them this year is they made a couple key changes in free agency. They signed Clinton McDonald Michael Johnson, that's for the defensive line, and Alter and Werner is a corner for them. So they signed some big guys in free agency, and now they have a new head coach, Lovie Smith. We know about Lovie Smith. One of the best things about Lovie Smith while he coached for us was that our defense was basically always a top 10 defense and got tons and tons of turnovers. That's what you want in fantasy. You want interceptions. You want chances for a pick six or a fumble recovery run back. So I see them being able to get a lot of turnovers this year, and they're probably going to get a lot more defensive touchdowns as well. They just had 3 turnovers in their 3rd preseason game, and one of them went for a touchdown. So you're already starting to see that Lovey trend over there, and Leslie Frazier is their defensive coordinator, so he's over there too. So I just think they're a defense that I got them, I think, in my second to last round because no one's really paying attention to them. People are taking Seattle's defense in the 7th round or, Carolina's defense. And I didn't have to spend a high round pick, and I think that, fingers crossed, but I'm predicting that they're going to do pretty good for me in fantasy. So go ahead and, you're going to take a little bit of a chance, but get Tampa Bay. Their line right now defensive line is basically in beast mode. They're able to stop the run. They're getting sacked. They're getting pressure and sacks on the quarterback. So I just think that they're my prediction to crawl into that top 10 maybe range for the season this year.
Now, you talk about the Bears used to be a top 10 D. Fantasy football magazines out there, are you out of your fucking mind? Why the hell are you giving people this load of crap that the Bears are going to be a sleeper defense?
See, I knew where you were going with that. I was like, I think everyone's ranking us too high for what we've seen so far.
Yeah, all they're doing is looking at what they've seen on paper. Preseason, we're Bears fans. We're not convinced we're going to have a beast mode defense, and neither should you on the fantasy end.
No, I'm hoping for middle of the ground.
Yes, and you don't want a middle of the ground defense on fantasy. You want a team that's going to have tons and tons and tons of turnovers. I don't see our defense having tons of turnovers. I see we just need them to actually stop the other team and get the damn ball back so we can keep up in these shootouts that we're going to end up in again this season.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to allow the other team to get points, allow them only a field goal try, not touchdown after touchdown after touchdown.
So shame on you, fantasy football magazines. That's why you don't listen to them. That's why you listen to us. My sleeper defense is Jacksonville Jaguars, which they were really kicking ass at the end of last season and surprising people by keeping their team in games. And they actually won a few games that, especially there was one key game I know that knocked a lot of people out of survival pools out there. Because all you need is one loss in a survival pool and you're screwed. And everybody, of course, wasn't going to pick Jacksonville. And they won. They eked out a game because of their defense. They have linebacker Paul Slinsky, rookie DB Jonathan Cyprian, and they added from Seattle's D, they managed to get defensive end Chris Clemens over there. So you have some reliability from a Super Bowl caliber defense. Here's the key, though, and this is something you want to look at also. They are playing teams that only have a .453 winning percentage. So you're picking a defense that is going against a bunch of inferior teams. You're going to get points there too, especially keeping them down score-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems like their schedule isn't that hard. And, they're a super young defense.
Yeah.
And again, with those additions, especially on their front, I know when they played us in preseason, we were pretty surprised. But again, their front is playing very good. They're getting pressure. They're definitely stopping the run. So I love that one. I think that's great because no one ever pays attention to Jacksonville.
Right.
Why would you normally? But they're a young team.
Yeah. We're going to give you a bonus one here. We're going to give you St. Louis. And last year, the St. Louis Rams D they held their opponents to 242 passing yards per game and only 102 yards rushing per game. And what everybody is saying is they're getting even better and better and better. They have a great pass rush, and they have a new defensive coordinator in Greg Wilson. So they've been looking good in preseason, and I just think they're going to be another sleeper defense you should pick up that's on the rise like Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and that whole division is just tough, physical defenses.
Yep.
They just hit the crap out of each other, basically. So, again, I feel like the Rams would be a lot better if they were in a different division.
Yeah.
But yeah, their defense is the strength. And we know Jeff Fisher is a defensive guy. So, of course, when you have head coaches that are, more defensive minded than offensive minded, that's usually the strength of the team.
Hey, we would take the Rams here in Los Angeles, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Well, we're going to get a team in LA at some point.
Come on over. We'll take any team at this point, except the Jaguars. Even now, I don't want the Jaguars anymore.
I don't know, but maybe you can get cheap season tickets and then just go to a bunch of football games.
Hell yeah. Well, that's our show, everybody. Zoe, she's waking up. Yay!
She'll be in her jersey for week 1.
Yes, yeah. So next week we're going to have our regular show, Beast Mode and Real Men. We're going to give you our picks for the first week of the season. Keep up with us at BigBallsFantasyFootball.com. Keep up with our Twitter at BigBallsFBall.
And, of course, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/BigBallsFantasyFootball. And listen to us, our podcasts. We're switching off hosting this year, so it's going to be fun and keep it fresh.
Yeah.
That is at blogtalkradio.com/GRR.
Yeah, and you're watching us on the Big Balls Fantasy Football YouTube channel. So, everybody, good luck in your drafts. I know this is the last week for drafts, and hell, how many drafts do we have this weekend?
We have 2 in a row, 2 days in a row. So it's going to be an intense draft weekend.
We will see who calls in for sick for work on Monday. All right, everybody, good luck.
Good night.